Hello, my name is Gabriel Toggenburg, and I was asked to speak about inclusion, inclusive designs in the context of tourism, and of course also about our experiences. So that's what I'm going to do in the next 10, 12, 14 maybe minutes. Well, the question arises with the very basic questions. Are we all allowed to go on holiday? Well, of course we are allowed, but for some people it is an issue still because accessibility needs are not really met by many tourist services. And that was then the reason why we at House Himmelfahrt in South Tyrol thought that we want to be accessible from the very origin of the idea. So we wanted to be accessible by design. Accessibility shouldn't be an afterthought, but it should be there from the very beginning. You see here a picture of my brother who takes a holy Spanish siesta on his bed in the garden. But accessibility is not just sort of a private hobby. It is something which is also increasingly formulated at official level. And even the European Union, in its quite recent European Agenda for Tourism, formulated a new EU work program, work plan, that has as one of its key topics accessibility for tourism services. And so what is the goal? The goal is to enhance inclusion in tourism for elderly people, and we all get old, for people with disabilities, but also other groups with specific needs. And how would one do that? Well, raise awareness and simply create favorable conditions for projects as ours to be able to develop, because of course it requires special knowledge. It is a challenge to be accessible, but the EU wants really to push that the offer of accessible structures is increasing. So who are we? Where is this Haus Himmelfahrt? The Haus Himmelfahrt is located in Maria Himmelfahrt, a tiny village, quite high up, 1,200 meters above the sea level. It is in South Tyrol, so the very north of Italy, an autonomous region. The capital is called Bolzano, and from there you get by a cable car up to our place, which is sort of a plateau. You have a marvelous view to the Dolomites, and every morning when we get up, we see all these mountains. But the village itself is really, I mean, we are speaking maybe about maybe 30 buildings. It's three farmers and then villas, very old villas that actually since around 4 centuries cultivate a culture of summer vacation. Actually, it has become quite famous, and it is in a way the cradle of the European culture of what in German language you would call Sommerfrische. So this culture of taking off for 3 months and to go to the countryside and to really read and enjoy and sort of reload your batteries. In fact, even Sigmund Freud was one of the regular guests up there on our mountain. So what did we do? This was our stable, the sort of side house of the main villa. It is also a very old building, and this is how it looked from the front side. And after our after our project, this is now how the facade looks. If you look at it from the front side, from the rear side, this is what it looked before. And now afterwards, this is how it looks. Let's have a look inside. As I said, it was a stable, so my mother still had her horses there, and goats and cats, and there was a monkey, and she had really thousands of animals, and the horses were down there. This is what it became. So this is one of the 4 holiday flats. They are all named according to the names of our parents, grandparents, great parents. So this is the flat Paul. If we move up in the first floor, this is how it looked beforehand. My mother was actually living in this flat, and this is what it looks like now. That's flat Assunta, called after our mother. We have used all the materials that we could reuse. So for instance, this is the bathroom door, very old door, and out of these doors we made tables, putting a glass plate on it. And this is, for instance, this one is used in our seminar room. So we tried not to throw things away, but to use them again. And what are the principles of our house? Well, 3 principles. First of course, is that we want to link to this century-old tradition of frescatura, as they say in Italian, and to preserve this very special local reality. Secondly, we are totally dedicated to the SDGs, the 17 UN goals to preserve our planet. And then finally, we are fully accessible, and we have implemented 36 accessibility measures. So accessibility is for a minority an absolute must-have. If you are a wheelchair user, but then you would never choose an hotel or a room that is not fully accessible, because you couldn't go there, right? It's simply a must-have. So that goes for people with special needs, wheelchair, blind people, people being in care. Of course, for them, it's a must. Then you have maybe around 1/3 of the population who would say, well, I would like to be in a fully accessible hotel or establishment. The reasons might be diverse. So either it's because you are a golden ager, you have, I don't know, you are no longer the youngest chicken, you might have 65 years and you simply like to see an elevator, for instance, or you are a young mother or a young father with a pram, same there, you prefer to be in an accessible environment. And I think for the rest of the population, all of us, it's simply a nice to have. It's not a must, but it's good to have it as a must. So if you want to be accessible, you have to dig deeper in any sense of the word, because you have to sort of get the knowledge, you have to have an elevator, right? So we definitely had to dig quite deep, a huge hole, in order to get that elevator into our room. And then we built sort of a new corpus next to the old part of our building. And this provided space for a terrace that is great to sort of relax. We have then in the parterre, we have a seminar room. It's also a library where people simply meet. There's a fireplace. You can have a nice discussion. You can cook there. And then down there, you have our wellness zone, which, by the way, is also fully accessible. So you can use the wellness zone also if you are a wheelchair user. As you see, we sort of put a lot of emphasis on wood. So that has to do with our sustainability focus. And in the building, we actually were able to pull down all the walls, which made it, of course, then much easier to rearrange and redesign the internal structure in a fully accessible manner. So yes, the building is protected under monument protection, but it is a very light form of protection. So we were able to sort of design or redesign the internal subdivisions, which was a big help, I have to say. So you see there's a huge space that we could use. And let's have a look in the bathrooms. All bathrooms are fully wheelchair accessible. That means that you can go with the wheelchair underneath but of course, it's not just this aspect. You have not only that you can go with the wheelchair underneath the balls, but you also have grips so that you can pull yourself up if you are sitting in the wheelchair. You also have sort of an alternative system of using the flush. So in case that you cannot turn yourself, right, you just simply press these buttons, which is of course a great help for someone who is not mobile and cannot sort of turn herself or himself around. So this hydraulic activation is a big help. So when it comes then to the door, so that's also a big topic for wheelchair users, of course. The doors have to be wide. In our case, it's always a minimum of 90 centimeters, but many of them are actually much wider. And this is very useful. We really try to avoid any door sill, so even a minimal door sill we avoid by a special mechanic system that allows really to have isolation despite the fact that you have a zero door sill. So this technique exists, and it's I think of a big help. Also for the kitchen, it's important that all the kitchens are designed in a manner that allows wheelchair users to fully use them. So that means that you have the possibility to go below the kitchen structure with your wheelchairs. You shouldn't have fixed tables. The sockets should be integrated into the front so that someone in the wheelchair can reach them. So many details. What else could I advise you if you sort of are reconstructing your structure? Well, try to use Braille where possible for those people who are blind, for instance. The pathways, of course, should be designed in a manner that they are usable for prams, for people going on a stick, for wheelchair users, etc. You need extra large parking slots. Huh? That's also often forgotten. You need in the bathroom, of course, alarm mechanisms, because security is an issue for persons with special needs. It doesn't stop there, because if you have alarm mechanisms, of course, you should make sure that they are also usable and for people with different disabilities, right? So visual signs, sound signs, etc. Then, of course, when it comes to the electric system, well, there you have to make sure that you are aware of the national and by now increasingly also international standards in terms of where to place sockets, not to have them in corners, not to have them on the floor. Just always think from the perspective of someone who, for instance, sits in a wheelchair, right? When it comes to the bedrooms, I can give you some examples of how they look in our place. So again, it's important to be aware of the standards. They have to be free below, so that again you can sort of pass underneath with the wheelchair. Also, the height is of course a topic. You have to check the standards there as well. It's also it's important that you sort of provide for additional grips for people who are less agile and less mobile, so that they sort of can grasp and pull themselves up when they are in the bed. We also have a system of electrosmog barriers, or actually barriers against electrosmog, in order to guarantee a really healthy environment. In addition, we have biological mattresses, bedding, so that has all then to do again with our second pillar, the sustainability theme. Basically, we at Haus Himmelfahrt want to show three things, I would say. One is to make the point that accessibility is actually part and parcel of sustainability. And we do that by the way how we communicate accessibility. I also publish academic pieces on that to sort of raise awareness that you cannot talk about sustainability and at the same time forget about accessibility and people with disabilities, which is something which actually happens, right? You have hotels who make a huge fuss out of sustainability, and they are not at all accessible. And that, of course, is a bit a contradiction if you read the relevant legal and political documents about sustainability. We also want to be very open about accessibility. We think that this is not a topic that should be hidden. I was quite amused that when I started our project, a prominent advisor on tourism said to me, well, Mr. Toggenburg, it's a good idea, but don't overdo it, because if you sort of are all too open about accessibility, you might also lose certain clients. And then I said, well, then let's lose them, because I think this is important that accessibility is also promoted very proactively. And we also want to show that accessibility does not mean that you have to compromise in terms of style and aesthetics, right? You still have many examples of accessible structures that, however, look like a hospital. I mean, that's not needed. And I was happy that I could build on the help of my sister Larissa, who runs a design studio, and she did, for instance, all the wallpapers. My daughters helped me in painting our lamps. So we did a lot ourselves because we believe that aesthetics is also important for the soul and for the well-being of our guests. Well, talking of the team, here they are. Magdalena stands in the center of all this. You see her together with her dog Maxi, and she lives in the house. She welcomes the guests, and that's of course important. And then we have my friend Günther, who is responsible for the booking. So this was it. I hope it was not all too long. Yeah, for us, this is it's not really a business idea. This is something we believe in. We think that accessibility and tourism should go hand in hand in the future, and we want to do everything to push for that. So if you have an interest in that, just follow us, and thanks for your interest and also for your patience. Bye-bye. All the best.